How to give feedback without ruining relationships, a perspective-changing experience. Hi everyone. I want to share an experience I'll never forget. It's about criticism. Back then, I used to think, if you want to help someone improve, just tell them straight. But I was completely wrong. And I only realized it when I lost a close friend. Here's what happened. My teammate and I were working on a project. He often turned in work late, and I started getting really annoyed. Finally, I told him, "You're never serious. I have to clean up your mess because you're irresponsible." At that moment, I felt justified. But his face changed. He went quiet, and from that day on, he slowly pulled away. Until eventually, he refused to work with me again. I didn't understand why. I thought I was just being honest. But later, I realized being honest doesn't mean being right, especially if you deliver it in a hurtful way. A few months later, I came across a quote from a book that opened my eyes. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. What does that mean? If you want something sweet, don't start with aggression. Most people don't like being criticized even when they're wrong. They might feel defensive, ashamed, or even attacked. That's when it hit me. Criticism is like a knife. Handled gently, it helps. Handled carelessly, it hurts. From then on, I started changing how I gave feedback. For example, if I thought someone made a mistake, I stopped saying, "You're wrong." Instead, I asked things like, "Have you tried doing it this way?" Or, "Would it help if we adjusted the schedule?" I also began with something positive. Instead of saying, "You're always late," I'd say, "I really appreciated how you met the deadline last week. If we can keep that consistency, it'd be amazing." And you know what? It worked. People became more open. They didn't feel attacked. They felt supported. My biggest takeaway: criticism without empathy is just an attack. So if your intention is to help others grow, make sure your delivery is just as kind as your intention. Because in any relationship, how we say something is often more important than what we say. I learned this principle from a legendary book by Dale Carnegie, and ever since then, I've changed the way I communicate. Now I often ask first, "Would you like to hear my thoughts?" And surprisingly, when people feel respected, they become more open to change. So, if there's someone you care about, someone you want to help improve, just remember one thing. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've had a similar experience, maybe you lost someone because of how you delivered your message, share it in the comments. Next up, principle number 2, and it's just as powerful. And if you like stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.